Chapter 7 Scars and Hot Water. "All right, Blue. Do you think you could come over here by yourself?" A flush rises to my cheeks as I realize my master thinks me so incompetent and dim-witted that he doesn't believe I can traverse a few feet without assistance. I stay on my knees when I crawl to him, remembering that he'd said I wouldn't be stable on my feet, and not being stupid enough to rise without permission regardless. I may be stupid, but I try not to make the same mistakes twice. "Okay, you can just give me your dirty clothes. I'll get you something else." I am surprised that my master is willing to clothe me, though I'm grateful for it. Many preferred my form bare at all times, easier to get at without all the work of undressing, I had assumed. Still, I wonder what will be required of me for such generosity. This master is so kind, and I can't help but keep taking on more and more leniencies and indulgences that I will eventually have to pay for. I owe so much. I don't know how I'm expected to find my way out of this debt and be valuable to him. The rough canvas bunches in my hand, and as I touch it, I am confronted with the state of my coverings much more directly than I had hoped to be. The scratchy, thin material scraping more than stretching over my skin. As I pull off my shirt, sharp pains lance up my frame, and I expose patches of bruised and cut skin. That skin prickles as I can feel Master's eyes taking in every detail, following every damaged inch like a hawk. He does not look happy. I'm not exactly sure what I look like, mirrors being in short supply at the market, but I know there are bruises that color my skin in every color of the rainbow, and cuts, along with the occasional bruise perfectly outlining a hand, the smaller oval fingerprint bruises a little lower on my damaged hips and thighs. Master's hand goes to my lower belly and I flinch, unable to stop myself as he traces an old scar. I believe it was supposed to say slut, but Master had been drunk, and he'd written it to face him as he fucked me anyway. A tremble takes me over as Master traces the scar lightly with his fingertips. I pray that he doesn't like it. Master continues wordlessly, fingers ghosting over bruises and scars alike as if he were cataloging them. The tracing is supremely uncomfortable. I am used to being ignored, shoved to the periphery of people's perceptions, and fading even farther than that. This attention is something I have come to associate with danger. When people pay attention to you, they see everything. All your faults and incompetencies laid bare. This is dangerous, and it takes everything within me not to squirm at Master's light tracing. His hands ghost over me. He does not dig into the cuts or prod at the bruises, but the potential in my mind is so much worse. He can do whatever he wants. I am entirely at his mercy. I wonder if it would make a difference if I begged him to stop. If I got to my knees and begged in that sweet voice that Masters like, kept my eyes at his chest, respectful, but high enough that he would still see their alluring shade, if I could distract him from my ruined body and make him look for even just a few moments at anything else. I could suck him off. The thought comes unbidden into my mind, and I spend several seconds taking in his height, his build, the angle, and with a suppressed sob of relief, the soft mat by the bathtub's wall. He is not the largest master I have served, but it's not always proportional. Stars no, I know that. But it shouldn't be a problem. I'm good at what I do to stay valuable. I have to be. Even if I wasn't, the sheer amount of practice should count for something. I wonder what it would take to coax him over just a few steps. If he would let me kneel there on the soft floor mat, or if, because I'm being such a demanding little thing, he would require I take him right where we stand now, my knees bruising on the hard, cold tile. It's too much. The calculations in my mind are dismissed as quickly as they came. With all he has done, with all he has allowed thus far, I have asked too much of his leniency and favor at this point already. I don't think I would survive having this be denied. It would not be good to learn so early what happens when his familiar is being demanding and does not know his place. The viewing is still unsettling, but I think I can pinpoint why now. Technically, this should have happened already. At the market he was supposed to view me, strip me bare, and take in all my faults and weigh it against my value. Maybe that's why this is so wrong in my mind. He did not act like a master earlier, and now, as he is taking his due, I must adjust. This cannot last forever. I have to endure this. Eventually he backs off enough for me to take off my pants. Now comes the hard part. There is no shimmy from the roughly made trousers, no attempt at seduction, at drawing attention to my better features, at hiding the grime and stain-covered cloth. There's no point in it. His body language has been plain. He isn't aroused by my form, at least not now, and I'm not terribly excited to see what he thinks of my body when it's in such terrible shape. If he was displeased with my top half, I can only hope for mercy as he takes a look at my bottom half. I can see anger rising in his eyes, so unfocused he doesn't even call me out on the breach of respect. Nobody likes someone else's used toys, and used I thoroughly am. The night guards at the market had been quite taken with me. There was rarely a night that they didn't come into my cage to add new bruises and blood. They knew the part of the market that I was in. They knew nobody would care if I was less than pristine. I already was. I feel the heat rising to my cheeks at the thought. I'd long stopped cleaning and taking care of myself after their nightly activities. I can't bring myself to check as Master stares down at me, if there's still blood or some of their dried seed coating the insides of my thighs. Oh, my stop. Master cuts himself off, holding his own hand over his mouth, eyes wide for a moment before he quickly looks away. It's that bad. There are more of the same words scrawled along either side of my thighs. Bitch on the right and whore on the left, if I remember correctly. But I never really checked. They're on the insides of my thighs, but I do believe it was the same master that did it. Him or one of his friends, when he was sharing me that night. It seems the little tracing ritual is not necessary for the bottom half of my body as my master speaks. All right. Going to lift you, so don't panic. Master keeps his voice calm as his arms scoop me up again, placing me down gently in the warm tub water. I startle in his arms as I realize the destination. Is this really okay? Or is Master just teasing me to hurt me later? Very quickly I realize the decision is made for me, and I have no chance at resistance. Master places me into the tub. I moan at the feeling of warm, clean water on my skin. My tail loves the sensation of being immersed, and I swish it around as much as I can without making a ripple on the surface. Master placed me in here himself. Surely that means that I can remain here a little longer. Master picks up a rag and works the soap into a heavenly-smelling lather before he waves me closer to him. I jerk at the first contact, but Master only settles his other hand on my shoulder and rubs comforting circles into my skin as he works the rag back and forth against me. The first few slides of the cloth seem experimental, as though he's trying to see how much pressure he can apply without it feeling uncomfortable, before going on to lather and rinse the half of my body not fully submerged. The slide of the cloth becomes hypnotic and calming as the scents and heat go straight to my head. It feels like the steam coming off the bath is filling my head with cotton fluff, slowing and obscuring all the rusty and malfunctioning pieces until I'm only left with warmth. I like it too much to say. Master's hand keeps me steady in the bath, and though I know it is just so I don't move and disturb his work, I am still grateful for the warmth of his hands, their strength. By the time he's finished, the water is a dingy and murky gray. I bow my head to my chest, ashamed, but not quite surprised that all this filth has come from me. Master pulls out the stopper, and I watch as the gray water cycles out of the tub. The gentleness of his hands had been comforting. The pressure and strength he used had made my sore and agitated muscles relax. Does he realize how horrible and unworthy his pet is now? Is he finally aware that he shouldn't have wasted his time or his kind gestures? I've grown so used to the contact in the past few minutes, I don't know what I'd do if it was all taken away. My head aches as I try to think of a way to convince him that I'm still worthy of being his, of being taken care of being touched in this kind, gentle way. It disturbs me how much I want it, and it hurts knowing that I truly don't deserve this treatment. I watch him move to the front of the bath and replace the stopper after it is all drained out, and to my astonishment, fills the tub again with more clean and warm water. My heart is pounding loudly in my ears. I don't know what I could have done to deserve this, but I want to know what I can do for my master that he thinks this is a proper reward. I want to earn this again, somehow. I don't know if it's possible, but I want it so badly it's a near physical ache. I'm in such bliss that I don't even think as he asks for my foot, continuing his meticulous strokes down to where my leg joins the cleft of my ass before asking for the next, and continuing just the same as the other leg, paying close attention to the inside of my thighs. I guess there was something there after all. He hands off the cloth to me with the instructions to finish up as he looks through some bottles. I quickly run the cloth over my hips and dick before rather quickly pushing past my not perfectly tight ring of muscles in an attempt to figure out anything left from the night guards. There was blood and residue, but all in all I do feel cleaner. Master returns to the side of the tub not long after that, but gives no indication of seeing my actions. I have to hold in a sigh of relief. Even though I had instructions to clean, I really should have asked permission to touch my cock or my ass. Some masters seem to think that pleasure stems from every touch, and pleasuring oneself without master's permission is asking for death. The water moves on its own, and I startle for a second before master's hand comes to my shoulder in gentle chiding. I watch his other hand continue the familiar motions, and the water rises from the bath. Master makes the ball of water levitate, much like my vomit earlier. Only this time he sets the water gently on my head, letting it wet my hair without getting in my ears. I'm pathetically grateful for the consideration. Various sweet-smelling vials go in next, coating, lathering, and smoothing my hair all at once. Master sits patiently behind me as he instructs me to turn away from him so that he can brush the matted clumps out of my hair. The lack of pain is surreal. I try to think back to my last beating. Had the handler hit me so hard that I'm just imagining this? It doesn't seem real. He applies the same mixture to my tail, allowing me to try my hand at brushing. I can't remember a time my fur was so soft. Everything feels like a dream as the tub is drained and I'm lifted in a towel that feels like a cloud on my abused skin. There's something hard under me, something that might have been cold if not for the towel under and around me, swaddling me like a newborn babe. I am next to a sink. Everything around me is warm and dampened. My mind isn't working correctly. Everything is hazy, fuzzy around the edges. Stars, I'm tired. Master holds something up to my face, 2 matching tiny little brushes, and pushes one of them into my hands. He demonstrates how to brush it along his teeth as I stare dumbly ahead. After suitably failing a few times, he seems to become aware of my non-coherency, and takes the brush back, holding the bottom of my jaw still as I open my mouth and allow him to do it for me. I can't get my eyes to focus on his face for more than a few seconds at a time. As soon as one feature comes into focus, another drops out, becoming fuzzy and unclear. He helps me gurgle and spit before holding my head steady to keep my eyes level with his. I offer him a lazy grin. My heartbeat is so loud and hypnotically slow in my own head, I wonder if he can hear it. Blue, it's okay if you're too tired, but do you want a little food before we go to bed? I'm fairly certain my heart stops for a few seconds. The question is like a bucket of ice water, as reality crushes back down on me. Suddenly I am wide awake. Being able to earn food on the first night is nearly unheard of. I've never met anyone who's even come close. Still my empty stomach pulls at me, annoyed that I haven't said yes while I am still in my master's good graces. I don't know what he'll want from me, though. And as tempting as food is, I'm not in the physical condition to just give a blank check to my master. Eventually, though, my stomach wins over, reminding me that I'd been in the middle of a punishment before this master had taken me home. The market had decided that I needed a few days away from food to make me more accepting of what the guards did to me. I hadn't meant to scratch at him, but my testimony was never going to mean something to them. I haven't eaten in 2 days. My body needs food before it gives out. My head nods rigidly, and, bizarrely, my master smiles. "Good," he says, softly pressing at my side through the towel. "You're too skinny as it is." He picks me up, towel and all, taking me through the door and into the next room. It must be his room. A large mattress covered in fluffy blankets and sheets, a working desk right next to it, a large dresser on the far wall, and a bookshelf in the corner double stuffed with extra books in neat little stacks around it. I try not to let my stomach sink as he sets me on the bed. I knew what I was getting myself into. I know what Master's by me for. I busy myself with softly pressing my hand into the softness of the sheets around me. The towel has fallen open, and I can't bring myself to correct it when I know Master will take it off completely later. Master's look hardens at my uncovered swatch of skin. It's only then that I realize that the open towel leaves my stomach scar visible. Master doesn't say a word as he stalks off to the books, quickly tossing a few aside before settling on one. "I'm going to try a spell on you real quick for your scars. Later we'll talk about it and see if you want the rest done, but I am not okay with leaving those 3 words."